Hello everybody, I am Technovoid, your host and Royce and Conity quoter, and with me is your favorite Pokemon analyst, Hamster Wings. Hey Hamster Wings, would you say that's a lot of pie?
I like a lot of pie.
Nice. Well, this is a pie chart on the screen that I actually don't think has shown up yet because we're still in the intro, so we still have the two segment of the two. It's fine, we'll get there. Today is the wrap-up of Week 7. We're talking about the awards, and then we're talking about the teams, so
This season 7.
What did I say?
Week 7.
Oh, yeah, it is season 7. It's actually week, post 9. It's week 10 of season 7. You're correct. But yeah, so here we are. We're starting off, obviously, the awards. We've got the carry. So the awards every season, folks vote on some nominations that the tiering council puts together. Obviously, they're not perfect. We're all just human, but it's a pretty good smattering of what the season generally looked like. And for the carry, I don't think it's surprising to see Gouging Fire on top by a healthy margin.
Yeah, I think no one is surprised.
Nobody is surprised by this. Gouging Fire, kind of like Annihilate last season, despite the fact that Raging Bolt actually got more kills. I think Gouging Fire was definitely the poster child of fear this season.
Yeah, nobody wanted to play Diggery.
Nobody wanted to play Diggery, including the people who didn't have to. But looking at other things, Raging Bolt and really, there's such a huge drop-off after Gouging Fire. Carry, obviously, Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt both feel very much more like Executioners here, but in some case, that's gonna be the same Pokemon, because if your team is predicated on lowering the enemy's HP to 0, sometimes your main Pokemon for doing that is gonna be the thing that brings it all together.
Mm-hmm.
But below that, we see actually a couple that are not that. We see Sinistra, who, kind of also did do that a lot this season, but it did occasionally have some hospitality buffs.
Yeah, Sinistra was always a standout member of whatever team it was on.
Yeah, it was always doing something, whether or not that was, related to anything else. It was always doing something, and it got bulk for days. Our Chaludon, who's more of a bastion, but definitely, obviously, sort of that kingpin of my team. Mega Blastoise, who again, I feel like the offensive sets on Mega Blastoise didn't pan out as much as the defensive stats, but it was just so valuable. Then Rillaboom, Corviknight, Melmetal, who didn't get any votes here. Shaman, Ambipom, Cresselia, Urshifu, Medicham. Yeah, that sort of makes sense. Anyways, so that's the carry, obviously. Diggery performing very, very well here. Any thoughts on this, or should we move into Executioner?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this part of it.
True. All right.
Oh, wow, it's the same guy.
Yeah, wow, look at him, yeah. Yeah, so I think it's really interesting to see Gouging Fire doing so much better than Raging Bolt in both of these categories, when Raging Bolt was literally the one that got more kills, but I just think it goes to show, how much more threatening Gouging Fire felt.
Yeah.
Raging Bolt got a lot of kills siphoned into it, and it definitely deserved those kills, but it never felt quite as unbreakable and not being able to be one hit KO'd by. If that makes sense.
Yeah, Gouge already was borderline S banned for us.
Yeah.
And the fact that Gouge was put on its dream team just kind of made it unbeatable.
Did not help. Yeah. Yeah, there's
not literally unbeatable, but
yeah,
it was very strong.
Yeah, there's some consideration, obviously, this season, especially in Timer Ball. Actually, not especially in Timer Ball, I think between both divisions. There was just a lack of good Gouging Fire counters across the season. Diggery's team obviously had a lot of good support for Gouging Fire, but it also really benefited from the fact that other teams just didn't have the tools needed to deal with it. You had Ursaluna, Juice had Tapu Fini. Other than that, I
had Ursaluna, but Gouging Fire one-shot it. Or was spec to.
Was spec to until yeah, literally Diggery made a mistake, which is the reason it went down.
Yeah.
because of the icy wind that you pulled out. It's rough. It's rough out here. So it's definitely in consideration. We've got an eye on it. But, yeah, without that many good counters. The problem is it doesn't have that many counters, but like the ones it does have, like just weren't able to do much this season. Then you have Raging Bolt, Mega Heracross, I think is a fitting one. Mega Heracross had several games where it popped off pretty hard. Despite not being Burnt's Pokemon that's 6-0 to match, which was Shell Smash Blastoise, Mega Heracross still ended up getting more kills and was just generally more threatening over the season. Love to see Mega Heracross do well again. Kyurem Black, yeah. Kyurem Black, I think, is an interesting one because this is one that was in argument to be banned alongside Kyurem White. There was some argument about whether or not it should be left around. I think we've proven it's fine.
I'm playing it next week, I'll let you know.
Okay, alright. yeah, let us know if we need to ban it. No. I mean, Quick Ball, I think Quick Ball's when it comes to like whether a Pokemon is like super broken, it's always a bit of a wackier field to test things in, because generally like sort of level of play isn't quite as high there. So things that shouldn't pop off sometimes do, and things that should pop off way too hard or don't pop off because the particular player doesn't know how to use it. Kyurem, I felt, was in a good spot this season, where throughout the season it was pretty clear that Okurari had a very solid plan of what to do with it. So user error, I don't feel like was an issue for Kyurem Black. And the fact that other teams didn't have an immense amount of trouble sort of shutting it down made me feel, despite the fact that like they have in the past for other very strong Pokemon, makes me feel like it's probably okay, but we'll see.
I still think Kyurem Black is fine.
Yeah, that's sort of the camp I'm in, but my opinion means nothing. Arcanine,
but I mean, similar to Gouging Fire was run on a Sun team. Kyurem Black hasn't been run on a Hail team.
That's true. I mean, Okurari did run snow, but it was not like snow. It was like, you know.
It wasn't like hard weather.
Yeah. Arcanine, I think, makes sense here. Arcanine, you know, just very frequently choice banding and just one-shotting stuff and then dying. Genesect had a couple of good sets. What do we got at the bottom here? Hands, Garchomp, Mawile, Urshifu, Medicham. It is what it is. Alright, moving on into the Bastion. Corviknight winning this. I'm sad to see Archaludon lose. That being said, respect game. Corviknight this season did absolutely kind of just sit there for entire games and not budge.
Yeah, I hate that guy.
Yeah, OJ has something of a, at least this season, in the past, I think this is true across all seasons, OJ has something of a consistency problem where occasionally he will play like really well, like just absolutely play out of his goddamn mind, and then some games there's just some kind of mental block just preventing him from clicking the moves that win. Corviknight, I feel like, is one of those Pokemon that works very well for OJ just because of how consistent it is, right? Like it's so good at doing what it does that there's no room for OJ to, I think, like second guess himself or run something suboptimal on it, because
Corviknight's just good at what it does, and it does one thing.
Exactly. Like, this is the kind of shit that math should look at, but we'll get there. Archaludon, obviously, I think the fact that it eats close combats is pretty nice. Sinistcha has proven itself. I will go back on the math thing. We will talk about that. I do think math did a better job this season about not running things that are just bad ideas for the Pokemon, but we'll get there. Sinistcha makes sense. Shit's bulkier than it should be. Finny, Bronzong, Zamazenta. Primarina and Moltres not getting anything. This is so sad. Although that doesn't make sense. Primarina died to a heat crash and Moltres was like sashed, so it's whatever.
Moltres just sat there for 9 years at 1 HP.
Yeah.
That's not tanking, that's dodging.
It's not tanking, that's just getting lucky. Any thoughts on Bastion? Bastion's a weird one. I feel like as we move forward, both in terms of just general Pokemon meta, but also people becoming more familiar with doubles. Obviously, I think doubles has become a very understandable format at this point to a lot of people here. just tanking just does not work as well in doubles as it does in singles. Like, a lot of people coming
Not
from
usually.
singles, like, want to, you know, potentially run stall sets, and that just doesn't work here as well. Offense is just so much more powerful in our format, so it is interesting to see Pokemon in this particular category. Like, are they actually holding their own? Are they actually being as relevant as things like the Executioner? And at least in Corviknight's case, I think so, because that bulk really allowed it to just get such consistent damage.
Yeah.
And I also think that's true for Archaludon, because apparently Diggory ran the numbers with the scraper. Archaludon did more damage than any other Pokemon this season.
That's pretty funny.
It did the most damage. It didn't get the most kills, but it did the most damage across all of its turns alive, which I find very funny. Moving on into the Comrade, we've got Screamtail here as the winner. Yeah, that makes sense.
Screamrad is no comrade of mine.
He is a comrade of Gouging Fire.
Yeah.
I mean, this makes a ton of sense. Screamtail, we knew going into the season, was going to be fucking insane. Photosynthesis on that Pokemon boosting speed basically turns into a Prankstermon. It's got a really diverse move pool. I mean, it's got good... I mean, I don't want to say good. It has pretty, you know, decent speed control with, like, Icy Wind. Encore's powerful. It gets Icy Wind, right? I'm not talking out of my ass.
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it use Icy Wind, but maybe that was the other Pokemon and I'm stupid.
It probably gets it, but it gets Thunder Wave for sure.
Okay, yes, there's that. I mean, really, we talk about Gouging Fire, and I do think Gouging Fire without Screamtail still would have been a massive threat. But I do think, like, the combination of Screamtail and Torkoal on that team really is what pushed Gouging Fire to be so strong.
Yeah.
So there's Screamtail's one of those. I want to say Screamtail's an unsung hero, except I think everybody's singing about Screamtail. So not that unsung, kind of just a hero.
Screamtail is also screaming about Screamtail.
Yeah, I scream about Screamtail.
It's very loud.
It's loud. Persian Alola, kind of like last season, honestly. Ned putting in mad work with this C tier. You love to see it. Monkey Dory coming in kind of clutch this season. Some pretty fun, good supportive sets from this thing. Nice to see. We all had very high hopes for the boy Monkey Donkey, and he did not disappoint. Was very pleased to see how it did in B tier generally. Torn, you know, obviously for my team, kind of the cornerstone of all my support. Entei, I'm surprised to see Entei here. I don't really get the Entei vote for Comrade. Like, I think it was a good switch in, but it felt more of a offensive mon to me.
Yeah. I don't know if Juice had like a dedicated support Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, Finny, I guess.
Yeah, but a lot of times Finny was running Calm Mind.
Yeah. See, Juice knows. This is why Juice does well. Juice knows. The best way to win in TDD is to click buttons.
Set up and kill.
Set up and kill. We got Cress. Cress, I feel like, was not... I mean, I guess for Kotard's team, it's a bit tough to say what sort of supported the team. I honestly feel like Crobat worked better as a comrade here than Cress. I just think Kotard needs to step away from Trick Room and just, like, cut your losses with Trick Room, man. It's not working out between you two. It's time to see other people.
It's time to go fast.
Time to go fast.
I love going fast.
Draft Chi-Yu next season, you won't regret it. Indeedee, kind of, I mean, it was useful in a couple of cases. Ambipom, obviously, with the fake outs. Whimsicott surprisingly getting very few votes for Comrade this season, which is unusual. Yeah, alright, cool. Moving on into the Cleric. This tends to be dominated by Big Fairy. We don't see a Fairy until 4th here, which is insane. I don't know why Sinistra won this. I think Sinistra won this for a meme, but realistically, I don't know how much clericing it did. It hospitality'd like 4 times throughout the season, and then other than that, it like clicked Calm Mind and killed things. and like 8 hits it shouldn't have been able to eat. I'm not sure what was clericy about Sinistra, but sure, why not?
Yeah.
Hey, you know, more power to that's the power of awards. You don't need to be the best at something. You need to be the best at convincing other people to vote for you. If you got the propaganda on lock, you got the polls on lock. That's what you want to see. Cress I do actually think Cress was a much better fit for cleric than it was for comrade. It did have lunar blessings. I don't remember if it ever used screens. I don't even know if it fucking gets screens. But you know, it was nice. Sableye obviously setting up some screens for me. Screamtail doing Screamtail things. Ninetales with the AV when I did choose to use it. I mean, this is a pretty cut and dry thing. I think pretty much everything makes sense here with the exception of WinZip. I don't even know if that showed up on the screen. I don't think it did. I think it was a pop-up.
I didn't see anything.
Cool. Dig it. Dig it. All right, so that's Cleric. Not much to say there. Disruptor. Gothorita winning this one just barely. I don't know if I agree with this personally. I mean,
I would say Screamtail because I hate it.
Yeah, but I think Screamtail was a better disruptor personally. I mean, it's cool to see C tiers win stuff. Gothorita did come very, very frequently, and
yeah, true.
It's two things. Are number one, it is tanky. Number two, it traps things in, which was very, very useful this season. A lot of quick ball teams had difficulty dealing with their inability to switch. Generally, I think quick ball maybe switches a little bit too often for their own good in general. But that being said,
depends on the person.
Sure, yeah, I think it definitely depends on the person. But I think Gothorita was definitely something quick ball was not used to dealing with. Pokemon that sort of locks your options that much. Because, I mean, I can't say this for a fact. I feel like a lot of teams end up having like very, very specific counters to things. So like if a Shadow Tagger comes out, you are prevented from switching in a particular counter. Whereas I don't feel like Quick Ball has as many generalists, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true, but I feel like Gothorita does well against the very specific counters, obviously, because you are locking counters out of coming in, and you can bring something in. I think Gothorita works really, really well with something like Mega Venusaur. Right? Because if you can't switch into a positive matchup on a Mega Venusaur, yeah, that's rough. Beyond that, after Monkey Dory, we have just a pretty big drop off here into Farigiraf. I think Farigiraf was a great disruptor. It's always fun to see that thing be stupid. Crobat getting 0 votes here. This is so sad. Did you guys not see the Hypnosis? This is like Season 2 Technovoid. Represent. Let's go. Alright, moving on into Wild Card. Oh, this was so hard. I had to break this tie this morning. When I voted Screamtail versus the Dunsparce. I'm so sorry, Bert. The Dunsparce fucking deserves it so hard. Honestly, like just in terms of like getting variance in the awards, I think the Dunsparce deserves it. The Dunsparce getting an award is such a wild concept. That being said, I think it is hard to think of a Pokemon this season that did a better job of being the wild card than Screamtail was.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hate that guy.
Yeah, like, the Dunsparce, for what it's worth, did have several funny moves. You love to see the Blizzard, you love to see the Flamethrower, the Coil. It is all very funny, but, like, Screamtail, prepping for this thing, I speak for myself, Screamtail didn't even come to my match, and, like, half of my prep was against Screamtail. You obviously like had that whole bit of like, well, I have a list of moves Screamtail learns, and we'll deal with that when the match starts. This thing can just do anything and everything. And I mean, if you take into account Quick Ball, we've got the Perish Trap, not Quick Ball, Friend Ball, we've got the Perish Trapping. If we take into account the other Friend Ball, we've got the fucking Metronome bullshit. And then not even, just including its regular matches, I mean, this thing did it all. I think this is the wild card for a very similar reason. It's the Comrade, and it's just that it can support its team in so many ways, and it's impossible to know what those are gonna be before you actually see it use a move.
Yeah.
So I just think it's such a good wild card. So I am sorry to Dunsparce, but I had to respect game. Moving on into the secret weapon, we've got Salamence. This was close between Salamence and Sandslash. I think Salamence makes sense. I mean, this thing just fucking popped off several times and just Steven didn't bother with it otherwise.
Yeah.
Really brought it to games where it mattered and didn't otherwise, which is very much the secret weapon. I was surprised to see Sandslash so high up here. Do you have
Really?
thoughts on...
I'm kind of not.
Really? Okay, yeah, explain that to me. Because, like, I think of Secret Weapon, I think of Salamence, I think of Bronzong, Drifblim, Cradily. Like, I think of a lot of these top-tier picks. Sandslash doesn't come to mind, so I'm curious what the process is there.
It did great this season.
Did it?
Yeah.
It went, like, 2 and 4, didn't it?
That's great for a Sandslash Alola.
Okay, but that's a Miracle Nom, not a Secret Weapon Nom. Right?
I don't remember.
I mean, when I think of this award, I think of Pokemon that like were instrumental to winning the few games they game to, and I don't feel like Sandslash was that. Maybe with the exception of like one Aurora Veil that it used on against a Hail team. I can't think of too many situations where it was like Sandslash. That's the reason this game was close. So I didn't really get this one personally, but hey. More power to him.
I think Sandslash was good.
He was cool. I liked him too. I'm not saying he wasn't, to be clear. I just don't understand this particular nomination.
Sure.
Okay. All right, moving on into the showstopper. Jesus Christ.
Pichu.
It's a fucking crime that of all my Pokemon, Pichu won something, but alas, here we are.
It's your boy Pichu.
It's funny that the top 3 are C tiers here. I think it's always Showstopper. I think C tiers have a natural advantage because it's always fun to see something bad pop off, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you see Darkspud so up here, Clawitzer so up here, because these are Pokemon that generally are worthless. And they actually did manage to do something because just the situation was right for them. Screamtail, that's the thing, as fun as watching Screamtail's friend ball matches was, I don't think it stood a chance because you're competing against bullshit, gimmicky, stupid Pokemon that shouldn't work versus Screamtail that very much works.
Yeah, I'm sick of Screamtail, man.
Yeah. Pichu, on the other hand, the fact that it was drafted this season was an enormous mistake. I would say not my mistake. Other people would argue it was my mistake because I could have simply said no. But here it is, winning the showstopper for endeavoring a Kyurem Black and winning me a game. So there's that. I think it stopped the show because it exceeded expectations.
I mean, it stopped the show in its other game.
It did? I mean, it stopped a Volt Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Pichu deserves something for the fact that it came to a real TDD match at some point and did anything.
And this is what it earned.
This is what it earned, so there you go. Moving on into the Miracle Gothorita, huge jump here. I personally, huge Shiftry and Kilowattrel fan. I did not believe in either of these Pokemon before this season. I believe in them now.
I've been saying Kilowattrel is underrated, and I think this season specifically, I preach Shiftry to so many people.
Yeah. So I mean, you knew, brother. I did not know. These guys are great. Gothorita, sure. I mean, if it's gonna win the the Disruptor. I can see a lot of the same reasonings for giving it Disruptor as giving it this year.
Yeah.
Came to a lot of games.
I think it makes more sense here than it did in the Disruptor category.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it was quite instrumental to many of Hoser's games. I mean, realistically, the fact that Gothorita saw more use and got more done than something like King Gambit or Melodic, great. You built a team that Gothorita happened to work really, really well on, so good for you.
That's because Pokemon's living in the past where Melodic doesn't have freeze dry yet.
Okay. Yes. Yes, I've seen the Iron Hands mock punch. I'm
Yeah.
aware. It's a fair and balanced thing that's happening over there. Finally we got flop. You want to give me your
Have you,
thoughts on this?
yeah, this Pokemon is like
Yeah.
trash
Okay,
garbage.
so I'm setting a timer for 5 minutes. I want you to let it all out. All right. This is a
It's not gonna take 5 minutes.
well. I want you to rant as much as possible about Iron Boulder.
All right.
Your time starts
So
now. Boo, 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 boo.
everybody was like, "Yeah, Iron Boulder should probably be S tier," and I'm like, "Guys, what are you on?" And so I got it moved down to A. I didn't think it belonged in A either, but I wanted it
This is so rough.
to be good. I just wanted it to be good, and it's not. It's bad. It's horrible. Even it failed. I watched a choice band Iron Boulder today attack a Flutterman, and the Flutterman lived. Like, what is the point of you? What do you do?
You're not fast enough to be relevant. You're not powerful enough to be relevant. You don't have the moveset to be relevant. We believed in Mighty Cleave. We believed that was gonna make all the difference. Having good rock physical stab. It didn't matter.
You want to fix this Pokemon? There's one way to fix this Pokemon. Give it sharpness.
God. Yeah, Quark Drive is really the future paradox, especially the swords have it so rough with that psychic typing and Quark Drive.
And like Quark Drive is effectively not an ability.
Yeah, definitely not as much as Photosynthesis.
Yeah.
This is
Just-
very sad.
Man, I just like Terrakion, so I wanted to like Boulder, but they're just both garbage. They both go in the garbage can.
That's so sad. All right. Well, anyways, that's all we got for Iron Boulder. Let's get on into talking about some teams. So we got the Armory.
I'm not saying it.
What? You promised.
All right. It's more like the weaponry.
Ah.
Genesect got like 10 kills.
Yeah, he did. It's fun to see Genesect do well. Is this Genesect's first time being drafted official season? I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you at one point were thinking about it, but then I think you switched off to, what was it, Shaman? Or was that another season?
I've wanted Genesect every season and decided against it.
That's funny. Obviously it's been used in Gym Leader Challenge, and I think one other off. I believe it's been used in 2 off seasons. Or maybe it was literally just both bug gyms, and that's all I'm thinking of. But I mean, Genesect obviously is an S tier that has a couple of glaring weaknesses. But yeah, this team obviously did a very, very good job of sort of working around that. Mega Blastoise being the absolute GOAT here, as we discussed in the carry.
Yeah.
But yeah, Genesect just really kind of put in some heavy work here. And like good use, obviously, of Kilowattrel, like we were talking about. Even Swampert, who has low stats on the sheet. I think Swampert was like super important.
Me too.
Yeah, the Pokemon that Meteor Bauer mentioned he felt was his personal flop, and I kind of agree with, is Hariyama.
Sure.
I feel like Hariyama did not do much this season, especially because we've seen Hariyama before, and I feel like it was so much more instrumental. I don't know if what do you think the issue was there? Do you think just the team wasn't there, like wasn't built in the right way to make Hariyama important? There were just other things that did what it did, or what?
I don't know. I guess I don't see a whole lot of reason to use Hariyama when it's just like you have an Ogerpon Hearth Flame.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Ogerpon, I expected to see more from Ogerpon. I was super scared of this thing, but it kind of just ended up being there. Not by any fault of its own. It's just everything else on the team just ended up cleaning up before Ogerpon ever had to come in.
I mean, I think Ogerpon is one of the best A tiers in the format and is also probably the hardest Pokemon to use in the format.
That's very valid. Otherwise, so yes, we have 5-3. Obviously, Meteor Bauer going into playoffs. Meteor Bauer is sort of, I feel like, coin flippy on seasons, right? Like he either drafts a team that goes all the way to finals, or he drafts some hot garbage.
Or he's like, I like Xatu.
Yeah, Grease Lightning and the Tinglu season are big standouts for Meteor Bowers. I just want a season arc. But
Well,
yeah,
you see, just don't pick Ting Lu.
just don't pick Tinglu. That's all you gotta know. Now, I mentioned before, and we'll talk about like I think some players have like consistency problems. Meteor Bower technically has a consistency problem, except it's like not a problem, and it's definitely
No.
intentional.
Yeah, no, it's just an effort inconsistency rather than a play inconsistency. I don't even know if effort is the right word. I
Yeah.
think it's just like, I just don't like feel like
It's
it sometimes.
It's I've decided this season I'm not going to win.
Yeah.
All right, moving on into Peanut Scratch. It's sad to see Peanut multiple times. This is not the first time. Dark Horse, or was it Dark Horses? Whatever the fuck. No, Haunts Punchers.
Yeah.
Haunts Punchers. It's so sad to see him just get so close multiple times to playoffs and then just be kicked out. And this season, I think it was more deserved than like last time. I felt it was such a crime that he did not make it. This time, it just so happened that like his hardest 3 opponents were his last 3 opponents, so it's like just the seasonal numbers were just looking very positive for him when he had some rough matches. How do you feel about his team?
I think, I don't know, his team's interesting. Like, obviously Melmetal is at the top. I kind of expected that, even with Chi Yu.
Yep.
Torterra had like a ridiculously great showing.
Yeah, despite being 1-1, or no, that's Toracat. I'm an idiot. That's I looked at the wrong Tor.
Yeah. Torterra did amazing. Chi Yu, I think, did what it does, which is you don't necessarily have to win the match. You just have to realize that offense is fun.
Yeah, right.
And
yeah.
then Chi Yu's like, I've done my job.
Yeah, Chi Yu's the pipeline, baby. We love the Firefish pipeline. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I really think the 2 standouts of this team were Torterra and Hoopa.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with that. This season, this team feels very reminiscent of Peanut Scratch's. Was it season 2? Was it Tempest? Or Power Plant? I think it's Power Plant. Like, just the team vibe felt very similar. This feels like a very Peanut Scratch team to me, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Like, these Pokemon just scream stuff that he would want to use. And I think he had a pretty good season with it. It's cool to see him sort of improve over the seasons. It's a bit sad to see him get ahead of me, but alas. It is what it is. But yeah, I think it just came down to having stacked opponents very late into the season. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, good job, Peanut. Honestly, yeah, super cool to see another success story. I guess not fully, but up till the point that it wasn't. At least now you know that his hyper offense is good, and you can do that. And next season, just like I did, you could have other people draft your Pokemon, and it'll be great for you. Let's talk about Okurari and Curtain Call.
Yeah. So, not super surprising to see Kieran Black at the top.
Yep. Or Goldengo in second.
Yeah. As we kind of talked about, people wanted Kieran Black banned. I personally don't, but I mean, it is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's the best S tier.
I don't think so either.
And that's not even including Gouging Fire. I don't even think it's the best S tier.
It might be. It's up there for me, but Monkey Donkey also putting in a lot of work on this team. A very bulky Pokemon over the course of the season.
Yeah.
Which was kind of surprising.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the this team has like its kills so spread out, like despite the fact that you have that Kieran Black. Like a lot of these more supportive Pokemons like Monkey Dory and Abomasnow getting a lot of kills here. Mega Gyarados, obviously, a very physically threatening Pokemon, but just like alongside something like Goldengo or Kieran Black here, this feels like one of the types of teams where kills are gonna get siphoned away into something, and then they kind of didn't. They kind of just stayed all around. Overall, I mean, great showing. This is obviously Okurari's first official TDD showing. I think one of the things Okarari did extremely well this season is just plan draft. I think this is one of the most well thought out teams, especially in quick ball. Like, I just think he planned and he knew and he got.
Yeah.
And it just worked out really, really well. I mean, I think obviously play was also very good, but I look at this team and I can think of few other teams that were just like so clearly what the intended vision was, like actually getting to pan out.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's go on into Elite Four. Hoser, another first-time player, didn't really know what to expect here. Ended up being quite the threat for Quick. So that's awesome.
Ninetales got 11 kills.
Yeah, Ninetales up there with fucking like 4th place, right after. Literally, it's the top 4 are Raging Bolt, Gouging Fire, Walking Wake, Ninetales, Alola.
Interesting.
I'm not even kidding. It is the 3 Paradox Beasts and then Ninetales.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had like King Gambit here, which was kind of a blunder on a pick. I think it got picked and then there was just kind of like, I don't really know when to actually bring this thing because of fighting coverage. But I think obviously Mega Venusaur has proven itself time and time again to just be such a powerful mon in our format. Landorus Therian, which I actually don't feel like is that amazing of an S tier.
I think it's a mid-ground S tier, yeah.
Yeah, but like, you know, it does sort of what it needs to do. Obviously you have the Gothorita down there. No Oricorio Sensio. Jesus Christ.
Sensio?
Oricorio Sensu. No official matches for it, just the friend ball.
You had a stroke there for a second.
Latipai. Any thoughts on this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a team that does extremely well with Veil and didn't use Veil all that much.
Yeah, it used it occasionally, but yeah, I think the team sort of had that sort of very balance going for it. I don't know if it's as well built on a particular structure as something like Curtain Call, but I feel like this is like Hoser knows how Hoser likes to play, and this is like Hoser House. Like it's very clear throughout most of the games, watching the games, he felt very comfortable with this archetype. And that's something I feel, especially in Quick Ball, that's something a lot of people struggle with, is knowing what archetype they actually feel comfortable with. So having someone jump in first season, already have like a lot of knowledge, maybe not of doubles, but just of knowledge of what kinds of games you like to play, and just going in there, it works, you know, and like, you know, major props to Hoser for a good first showing. Then we got Fat Cat Teahouse. I remember during the intro, we all looked at this team and we all thought, fuck, this is such a threatening team. It didn't feel as threatening in hindsight, to me. Do you agree?
I felt like, I felt like when I prepped into this team, it was the team that I was like, all right, there's no set variation here. I know what Sinistra's doing. I know what Iron Hands is doing. I know what Enamorus is doing, and because of that, I don't feel that threatened.
Right. And do you think that is that like a matter of like just like Ned Gem repeating sets, or is that just a matter of these Pokemon, of just this particular set of Pokemon are kind of, obviously they do something very well, but it's just the one thing pretty much?
I think they all have a clear best set, but see, because I knew there was going to be like hardly any variety in Hands, Enamorus, and Sinistra, I was like, oh, I can literally just counter them with like their natural counters, and then actually think about things like Persian.
Right. Yeah. Persian obviously being like one of the more like unpredictable things. on this team. One thing I am surprised by, and maybe I'm thinking of the wrong Enamorous, but I don't think I am. It always went special set here. I feel like this thing can go, obviously, like contrary superpower, right?
It can. I do think, in general, special is better.
Okay, fair enough. I just like that's
But
surprising to
yeah,
me.
I mean, that's Enamorous having a clear best set and also having a very clear runner-up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's something like Iron Hands, and Sinistra. I definitely like agree with you. Enamorous, I guess I was just surprised. I kept expecting to see it run a physical set, and I don't know if it ever did. I
I don't think
can't.
so.
I cannot think of a single time it did it. Maybe did it once, but I don't remember it. I think Ned had a rough time with the C tiers, and as we see with some of these other teams, sometimes you don't need the C tiers, right? Like sometimes just the S through B core is literally all you need. I'm thinking of like Whiskey in particular.
Uh-huh.
This team I feel did struggle somewhat from not really having, with the exception of Persian, any particularly useful C tier picks. Something like Rabombi I think is a really good Pokemon. I just don't think it was able to succeed this season.
Yeah, I'm generally pretty threatened by Rabombi. Like, just as a player, I think it's
Right.
very good.
Right.
It was actually the thing I was like the most worried about coming into my match
Me too.
against
Me
Ned,
too. Yeah, yeah.
and then it just didn't show up, and I was like, oh,
That's what I think it comes down. I mean, it did come to 4 games, which was literally half the games. I honestly expect to see it more. I also thought it was going to be a lead in my match. I just think lead Rabombi, like with Sash, is threatening. Um,
hmm
and it just didn't show up. But yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, with Ned, it's, yeah, just that lack of variation, which is so surprising because, like, going into this season, this was like one of the teams that we were just like, oh, this is fucking stacked as hell. And it just kind of did okay.
hmm
All right. Next up, we've got who we have up. Oh, Green Beans by Derpy Jacob. Another first timer here. Very impressed by the showing. I mean, Rillaboom just kind of fucking make a work out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I really have to, I guess, complain about, it's hardly a complaint, is like underutilization of Zapdos a little bit.
Yeah, underutilization of Zapdos. Honestly, I would say even of like Pelipper. Um,
Yeah, Pelipper Zapdos is a kind of gross combo.
yeah. Other than like the Zapdos pick, I'm not sure that Pelipper had that much use on this team. Um,
Yeah.
I think this team struggled from basically having a bunch of Pokemon that didn't matter, and then Rillaboom, Arcanine, Whimsicott.
Yeah.
And I think so. I think that worked well enough for Derpy. I guess if I had advice for moving forward, you seem pretty confident with Kill Comp, right? Like it worked.
hmm
It worked well for you. Trust your instincts. Work into that. Try and draft other Pokemon that sort of support Kill Comp better. Obviously something like Aggron and Berserker, both of which I think were advice from me, just because this team was so ice weak. Like
Yeah.
the Cyclizar, I think Cyclizar can work with like Shed Tail. I just don't think it mattered here. But like pulling up with a good special attacker, like obviously Zapdos would work if it had more use. And then getting a Follow Me user in there, something that basically sets up screens, allows your Pokemon to set up something like an Aurora Veil setter. Like this is a team that could definitely use like an Aurora Veil setter.
Yeah, for sure.
I think just like finding more ways to allow your few Pokemon that just really can pop off, giving them more ways to survive long enough to get the 6-0 or whatever. But otherwise, I mean, really, really impressive first season here.
Yeah, I
Love
agree.
to see it for someone with absolutely no Pokemon experience, or no competitive Pokemon experience going into it. I think picked up very quickly on what works and what doesn't. So
Yeah,
it's cool.
no, genuinely
to
great job.
see. Next up, we've got Eggplaying with Villain Arc. Pretty rough showing for most of the season. That being said, did end up coming right back at the end with the Urshifu Rapid at the end. What do you think? Because I don't think Egg is a bad player. I think Egg fully stands in Timer Ball as a perfectly worthy threatening opponent. What was it about this team that really didn't work?
I think some of it was comfort.
Okay.
Like, I've never, like, if you told me that, if I wasn't participating in this season and you told me Egg picked Chien-Pao, I would be like, what?
Why is that? Because
Why?
Chien-Pao was the first pick, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, at the beginning of the season, Egg said, I'm gonna try something new this season.
Okay. What is Egg?
And
So maybe this is my own fault for not knowing my players that well. What does Egg usually run that Chien-Pao is such a shot in the dark for him?
I think more like bulky offense.
Okay. Okay, so you think sort of this more offensive structure than what he's used to sort of didn't know how to play around that as well?
Mm-hmm. It also doesn't like super help that two Pokemon on this team, Chien-Pao and Urshifu, both really like Focus Sash, and they're like his two main threats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Urshifu ran a lot of, I think, like Lorb this season.
Yeah, it ran a lot of Life Orb, which can be a problematic item for the Pokemon. I think it's one of the better items for it, but you can see the downsides.
Yeah, for sure. What else? Do you think there's any other members of this team? Aegislash kind of like, despite doing well here, came like almost never.
Yeah.
Which is rare to see. And Aegislash is, I feel like, a Pokemon that Egg has more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for, comfort with. I mean, it's a Pokemon he's used before, and I think, like, perfectly fine, like, perfectly well. So I'm just curious why... It sort of feels like he was shooting himself in the foot in some aspects, and I'm just...
Yeah, I really don't think it was, like, a bad season. I think it was just an experimental season.
That's valid, yeah. It's just important to know what doesn't work is what does. I guess, yeah, advice moving forward for Egg, just, I mean, you found something that you don't vibe with, I guess.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. That being said, I think he's used Slowking Galar in the past. I think that's a Pokemon that works for him.
Yes.
I think he's a big Slowking Galar head. So keep that up. All right, moving on into Slug Sundae Stormy. This is another team that I think had a pretty rough season. A lot of it I feel like came down to sets. Is there a team building issue you see here? Because when I look at this team, I don't see so much of a team building issue so much as or rather a draft building issue versus a team building issue.
I see a kind of massive speed problem. With Jugulus kind of being the only real answer.
Sure.
So, I mean, I see that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it was the prep for most matches didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think on paper, there's a lot of solid cores, a lot of solid switch-ins here. I think there was a lot of not utilizing these mons for what they're good for. Like, I know we saw a lot of supportive Iron Jugulus sets when, as you mentioned, this was the fastest thing on the team. This needed to be more threatening. Not good protection of Heatran. I think Heatran was such an important sort of member of this team, and it ended up eating a lot of ground moves into Oko. Medicham, I mean, of all the Pokemon, and I think this sort of shows off here that Stormy had, I think Mega Medicham got used the best. I think Medicham, it's one of those Pokemon that's like, you know, this thing hits really hard. Otherwise, yeah, it feels like there was this confusion between how much do I build into support, how much do I build into offense, and just sort of a misutilization of a lot of there's a term like not even sets, whatever. Yeah, I mean, what do you have any advice on like what could have made this team more threatening?
I think you needed a fast test here. I think out of everything on this team, Lele doesn't fit.
I can see that. Yeah, that sort of makes sense to me.
Like
Yeah.
Lele Metacham, I think is a bad combo. Metacham hits ridiculously hard and isn't very fast, so it relies kind of on Fake Out and Bullet Punch.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, both of which Lele just prevents.
Right.
I think two of the C tiers on this team were just bad.
Those being Noivern and Doxbun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Double Eight is okay, and I think Cinchino is like kind of a sleeper hit,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we talked about earlier how this Stormy was unaware of just the strongest Cinchino sets.
Yeah, that's possible, yeah. And yeah, they're kind of putting a lot of eggs into the Noivern basket, which I feel like just ends up being self-defeating at some point.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
really trying to make Noivern work.
Noivern is a fast attacker whose special attack is like 89 or something.
I think it's in the 90s.
I don't know, scroll down.
Oh, yeah, we could. 97.
97. Okay, that's higher than I said.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It's just not an attacker.
Yeah, when your special attack is, or when either of your attacking stats is sub, like, even 100, like, honestly, you want more than that. But when you're sub 100, without boosts, it's tough. And, like, Noivern's a tough Pokemon to boost on because you have a quad weakness and you're not bulky.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
And, like, Noivern's one thing that it used to have going for it is that it's fast, and it's just not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, speed, yeah, the balance fucking creep of all sorts has been rough for it. Yeah, I think there was just not enough threats here. Like, you had the Metachan, but as you mentioned, kind of, struggled with the Lele. Heatran was a huge threat for this team, but it just didn't have the defensive support it needed. Ogerpon often going for supportive sets, which to some degree I understand, but yeah, just not hitting things hard enough.
Yeah, Ogerpon and Heatran I think go pretty well together, but they just kind of weren't out together.
Alrighty, moving on into Fantasy Core. This is the famous Corviknight team.
Yeah. Corviknight got 10 kills.
Yeah.
That's gross.
I went into this season as an OJ believer. And not to say I came out of it not an OJ believer, but like I went into this team, I was thinking this is maybe the best team I can think of that OJ has drafted. I think this works very well for him. He's been known to really enjoy a sort of a mixture of bulky offense and stall. Stall obviously doesn't work that well in our format, but just sort of going for, having the Corviknight and the Hippowdon, Garchomp and Mega Diancie there as, offense when needed. Infernape, obviously a Pokemon he likes using. I just thought this team worked really well. The C tiers, not immense usage, but like they had some stuff to do. I think the main reason OJ didn't make it into playoffs this season, when I definitely think he had the opportunity to, was again, like I mentioned, just that consistency issue where sometimes there's like this mental block on opponent prep.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to get around that? Because that's something that we've seen in the past too. And I'm just wondering, like, what is the play there on sort of how do you get better at prepping for opponents specifically? Because like that's also something I struggle with.
I don't know a good way to put that into words.
Like I don't. So I don't.
But
yeah,
I guess the important thing is that it's a lot more than, oh, this Pokemon needs this move to beat this opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not enough. It's got to be like, okay, what is my opponent's strongest option into me? Can I live that strongest option without sacrificing too many EVs? If I do survive, how hard do I hit them back? There's a lot of, you have to think multiple turns at a time in prep even.
I think that what you just said with the EV distribution and stuff, I think that's sort of emblematic on why Corviknight was so powerful this season, because Corviknight doesn't really need to think about that as much.
Yeah, not really.
Which is just, I feel so powerful for it. There was something you said there that I wanted to comment on that I liked, but I don't remember now. So there's that.
Thinking through multiple turns, maybe.
Nah, I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
Alas. Yep. Okay. Cool. All right. Oh, I remember. So yeah, I don't know. If OJ it's I'm not sure who watches all the matches that get played. For folks that don't, like, I know this season we had a case of I believe it was Whiskey ended up getting pretty beat down by a Goldango, just because not expecting it to have Thunderbolt and like Focus Blast is another move it gets. And it's just like, in that prep, sort of figuring out what the opponent can actually do to you, not just what you can do to your opponent, is pretty massive, because you can get taken completely by surprise sometimes with coverage. But just seeing what people, like anyone from Quick Ball, if you were in Timer Ball, sort of, as we said, like looking at Ned's team, prepping into Ned's team, and sort of seeing a lot of these very static sets is so useful.
Yeah, and like I know when I played Diggory, I had one monitor with the match on it, and the other monitor had two tabs, one being the calc, the other being a list of Screamtail's moves.
That's so funny. All right, next up we've got Cloud City. Juice coming back, refuses to not get MVP, refuses to simply not have the Pokemon with the most kills in a season. That's the Juice MO. Just Juice, fair warning for you. The first time you don't get that, I am going to come to your house and kill you. So there is that. Please don't take that out of context.
Everyone will just say LMAO, you fell off, but in their heads, not to you.
Yeah. Yeah,
like they do to me.
Yeah, you'll become hamster.
Like I say people do to me, but I don't think they do, because I don't think they care that much.
Damn, true. I mean, this team fucking, yeah, it was threatening. It was very threatening. This was a case of like, who needs C tiers really?
Yeah.
Drifblim came a couple of times. It was cool. It did some funny things, but really, like, beyond the top like 4 on this team, like, whatever, man. Meowscarada's great. It came. Meowscarada, Jesus Christ, talking today is hard. Meowscarada came to every single game. It honestly probably didn't need to, but it did. It did work in all of them, which is great.
I mean, we tried it out in B tier this season. It was one of the B tiers I was more hesitant to move down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's broken. I think it's very good, though.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a premier pick in B tier. I think it kind of just got overshadowed by Bolt Finny Lando.
Yeah, that's the thing. We added the Paradox Beasts to the game. Or, I mean, we didn't. Game Freak did.
Yeah, what the fuck was wrong with them? What was their problem? Why did they do that?
Yeah, that's kind of the conclusion to draw.
Fuck these things. Jesus Christ.
They're so stupid.
They genuinely are. I mean, this is actually, when you think about it, not actually that different of a team comp than what he ran last season. Mans just makes teams. Yeah, you were gonna say?
I don't know about that.
Well, I was more so thinking like because with the friend guard last season, it's essentially Juice has very, very offensive threats that take multiple turns to kill.
Yes.
So like they're able to. Juice is very, very good at using those 2 to 3 turns you need to deal with his biggest problems to simply sweep. That's something I think we saw last season with Annihilate. Where it's just people just could not break through Annihilate just naturally, and it just used that opportunity to 6-0 shit. And I feel like we saw a very similar thing here between Finny and Raging Bolt. Not so much Lando. I think Lando, worked very well as a niche threat on this team against certain picks. Very good counter pick.
As you can tell, he very much went back to A tier.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, was Lander? Oh yeah, just because it got rid of Sanseer Storm bullshit. But yeah, that's feelings there. Anything to add?
Not really.
Cool. All right, moving into round 2. I feel like,
Iron Valiant is the MVP.
yes, good. This is good. This is a team that I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I feel like a lot of lessons were learned in season 6 for Kotard. And I feel like we started this season and it kind of felt like this was Kotard's first season again.
But then Iron Valiant came in.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, I feel like there was a lot of growth for Kotard last season, and then we kind of like reset, and then there was a lot of growth for Kotard this season, and Kotard,
like,
I'm just praying we keep it this time.
He's tasted offense. Now you
That's
need to
what
think
I'm
about.
hoping.
Now you need to think about. Okay, I have Iron Valiant, but what if I just put Follow Me next to it? It can just kill everything.
That's what I'm saying. Right? And Iron Valiant is honestly not even that good of a doubles Pokemon. Like, it's pretty good, but like there are definitely more better offensive like fucking we look at the fucking Walk-in Wake or Raging Bolt or fucking Iron Hand. Like, we've seen other shit that it just like goes insane. And Iron Valiant is good, but like it suffers from a couple of aspects. Like I don't think it's one of the best A tiers. I think it's good.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely has some struggles. It's just Kotard, I need you to maintain it this time. To just go not start next season building like 80% TR, 20% not TR. I need you to just take what worked and roll with it, because I think you could have a really, really good season if you just remember the lessons. I feel like we've talked about this team so much this season, so there's not that much to add here. But it's just, there's a clear comfort zone that he doesn't want to leave, but that comfort zone is just not working.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah,
that's there's a word for that. That's actually called we call that trauma.
Oh no. What did Brazil do to him? This is so sad. We need to save Kotard from Brazil, and then he can start using offense. See, that's why you couldn't beat the Punch Bear. You kept trying to resist the Punch Bear when it crits you. You just gotta kill him. He's got like 60 special defense.
Yeah.
Just fucking outspeed and murder him. What's he gonna do? Run a sash?
Probably.
Yeah. All right. Moving on into Math Geek. I think we had a great improvement for Math Geek this season, specifically in the second half.
Yeah, second half, Math Geek went hard.
I said I would come back to this. Math in the past, especially in the past, has had this sense of, you know, I don't know if it's because of a draft league or he just like naturally thinks this way and it's just heightened by draft league, but if I do something unexpected, the opponent will lose because they didn't expect it. And I want to show that this season you have proven to yourself how nice it is to simply lead Drought Venusaur and win. Sometimes the thing that is expected because it's very hard to beat.
Yeah, definitely Charizard, not Venusaur, but you know.
What?
You said leading Drought Venusaur.
No, I said Drought and Venusaur.
Oh, Drought and Venusaur. Okay.
Yeah. No, Drought and
Venusaur.
Yeah. No, Drought Venusaur's nothing. No, Venusaur needs chlorophyll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's just like, I think at the beginning half of the season we had just some rough times of like great tusk clicking moves that weren't Headlong Rush for some reason. I mean, Ambipom kind of putting in, you know, a reasonable amount of work throughout the season, is about as much as could be expected from Ambipom, so good on him there. Seeing so many physical Volcanion sets in the first half of the season for God knows what reason. The Pokemon that you draft are good at something, use them for the thing they're good at. I understand you want to take someone off guard because other people are not going to prep into it. The fun fact is people aren't going to prep into that shit anyways. Like, so just like...
Is that really the lesson here?
I don't know. I just think the lesson is Math has proven that he can actually pop off pretty well when he uses his Pokemon the way they were intended to be used. And so I wish he would do that more because it's kind of been an issue for him in the past. Less so this season. Just kind of continue on that path, man. Like,
Yeah, maybe look into those Pokemon that are like they have a clear dominant set, but they have a very clear secondary set too.
yeah, like something like an Amorous, like you were saying. I mean, maybe not an Amorous specifically, but like, yeah, it's like there are two things it does them both very well. That way your opponent is having some difficulty in prepping for both of them, but you still don't fall into the trap of running like Psyshock Great Tusk, because nobody sees Psyshock Great Tusk coming instead of just clicking Headlong Rush. Not that that's a thing you did. I hope. I didn't look at all your pastes. I hope you didn't run Psyshock Great Tusk. All right. So
Nobody even knew that was a thing until like a week ago.
in Timer Bowl, we don't know what Matt's been looking at the past 8 weeks. We don't know what Ganchi's been on.
Yeah, that's true.
Math, if you did know that Great Tusk got Psyshock and you didn't run it, I'm actually very proud of you. that shows some restraint. All right, moving on into Garlic.
I'm lost here.
Look, I get it. I'm sort of a kindred soul in that sense, where it's like I also, in my early seasons, really loved running like bullshit that nobody saw coming. I learned it's not effective. I'm trying to get Matt to see that. But let's talk about Garlic.
You know what makes me happy about this team?
What, that it lost?
That Quackavall was kind of a high performer.
Oh yeah. I was mainly thinking about how Ensign just like really rough. Do you think Ensign should be S? I don't know. Like it's there.
I don't know, man.
It's such a weird Pokemon to because it's like it's the most fucking dominant Pokemon in doubles, but also like S tier supports are generally rough.
Yeah, I don't know. When you only get one, like at least in A tier, it's like you're getting a super good support and you get another A tier.
Yep.
When your S tier is your only support, I feel like it just feels horrible.
Yeah, when you're only S tier support, not when your S tier is your only support. There are definitely other supports here.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, Ensign, yeah, it's because like that top pick is often something you want to build a team around, and Ensign's something you use to build teams around other things. You can't really build a team around Incineroar because that's all 900 other Pokemon.
Yeah.
So it's a weird dichotomy there. But otherwise, looking at this team, I agree. Yeah, seeing Quackavall put in work was very, very nice, except for that time it crit me through my Reflect, fuck you. But other than that, Vaporeon, I think we've had in the previous seasons, it like kind of performing pretty well. We've seen that again. Always love to see it. Mawile, definitely a threat, but like not as much as usual. Why do you think Mawile struggled this season?
I think Mawile's been power crept.
That's a good point.
I think defensive power creep is something that happened a ton in Gen 9. Like, Gen 8 had a lot of offensive power creep. Gen 9 has really been defensive power creep.
Really?
And... What?
No, I'm just surprised. I'm just saying, really. Because, like, Gen 9 gave us shit like Last Respects and Rage Fist. And the Paradox Mons.
Well, yeah, but, like, that's not that much of a step up from, like, Vicious Rend.
Okay.
Compared to, they released something like Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt, which just can't die.
Oh, yeah? And Annihilate, too. That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think the defensive power creep has been the biggest thing about Gen 9, and I think Mawile just can't kill anything with Sucker Punch anymore.
Can't break things. That's a good point. Where do you think Dragonite suffered this season?
I mean, Dragonite, certainly over the course of this generation, has become quite Terra-reliant.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have that.
Valid point. Any other notes here for Ko?
Not really.
Yeah,
no.
Just skip like next season or two and then come back again and I don't know, kick some people to the ground and get top 3 or something. I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Cause like jumping in and out of TDD has always been very funny to me.
Yeah.
All right, now we got this team. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I can say to Diggory that Diggory doesn't already know better than I do.
He didn't bring Orthworm.
Well, he knows that is the problem.
Yeah.
He knows that and he doesn't care because he's top cut. Okay. Nothing else. I cannot talk about his team. He knows his team so much better than me. Like, there's nothing I can say on that front. I guess mainly just props here. Diggory has never been first seed in timer before. Diggory keeps getting just like blasted right at the end of playoffs, preventing him from I believe hitting finals.
Yeah, if any season's the one to do it, it's this one.
Yeah, this is your season, man. You've been gunning for that championship so hard, and honestly, of players in the league, you're definitely one of the more deserving to get champion. The amount of work you've put in, the amount of improvement you've had over the past 6 seasons has been absolutely insane. Definitely like up there. It's been kind of a crime that you haven't before. This is it, man. Don't fuck it up, I guess.
Go for the gold, however, I will try to stop you.
I won't, but he will. I tried to stop you, I failed. You didn't even bring Screamtail, but yeah. I mean, do you have any notes on this team or not?
Not really.
It worked!
It's just a really good team.
It just worked. We all let it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, the note for Diggory is not for Diggory, it's for everyone else in this league. Don't let this happen again!
Yeah.
What is wrong with us? Okay. Moving on into me. I don't know how much offer team... Okay. This is... Can you give your fellow timer ballers some advice since you guys built this team?
So...
What would you have done differently?
Drafted a team?
Well, no, not to me. I'm saying if you drafted all 10 Pokemon instead of you drafting 1 out of 9.
I have no idea if there was a chat for this that I wasn't involved in, because I felt like a lot of picks happened that I was like, wait, why did they pick that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there was like a chat that I wasn't in.
I think Diggory and Juice and Ned and Meteor Bauer probably had a chat. They're like special. They have their own little thing that they don't include us in because we run this thing. We're the pigs that run this thing.
The pigs.
We're the pigs. Okay, I guess that. So yeah, wasn't really
But
advice.
like, I guess like for real though. When the draft started, you were like, yeah, I'm pretty on board with this, and then like Wheezing Galar was the point where you thought it all got weird.
Yeah.
Which I think it's fair to say you kind of respect every single Pokemon you have now, except
Pichu.
Yeah.
Looking at this team, I think honestly, with the exception of Pichu, because Whiskey, I'm coming for you. When we do Candle Nights again, you're gonna regret everything. Although that's not an official season, so you won't regret it as much as I regretted it. But that being said, Salazzle I felt was the weakest pick here. Salazzle felt like a really gimmicky pick that I could only really... I understand fully why it was picked. Obviously, Beat Up goes very, very hard into both Archuludon and Annihilate. It's got access to Fake Out, which is nice. It had access to Dragon Cheer, which I used a few times, which was funny. But there were so few situations in which it felt like a Pokemon I wanted to bring, over just doing something more reliable. So I did kind of struggle with that. Pretty much everything else on this team, I was very happy with. I did not believe in manual weather setting, with both Torn and Sableye. I kind of still don't believe in it with Sableye for the most part. Torn actually does a great job at setting up rain, I have to admit. Sableye I didn't fully believe in as a B tier. I think Sableye's fucking goated. Still don't know if he's worthy of B tier, but at the very least I respect him there.
He's certainly buffed.
Yeah, screens are a hell of a drug. Definitely was super, super important here. Even the Wheezing pick, which I still feel like was kind of a misstep, had its use. There were games in which Wheezing felt very important. so I respect it all. Do
You
you
ever
have
noticed how Wheezing is higher attack than special attack?
Yes, I'm
That's weird.
fully aware of that fact. Can you give me some advice? Given obviously I didn't team build the team, but in terms of usage, what could have I done better to get in the fucking playoffs? Other than hit a head smash, don't include that part.
Well, I mean, that literally would have helped, but...
Yeah, but that I can't control that part. Things I can control. If I simply won all my games like Diggory, I wouldn't have to hit a head smash, okay?
Yeah.
How do I win my games?
I feel like your move selection on Archaludon was kind of off sometimes.
Really? Okay. Just like the over-reliance on Dark Pulse, or what?
Yeah, I think he just kind of needs his 3 stabs.
Fair. I just didn't see that much use for Dragon this season, but fair. I mean, I don't know. It's like when I run Draco Meteor, it's because, like, I see very important kills on Draco Meteor. That's, like, never the case with Dragon Pulse. I run Dragon Pulse a few times because, like, there was useful 2-hit KOs, but, like, otherwise I'm like, I don't know. I just body press and, like, fucking whatever the fuck steal I get.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah. I don't know. Meteor Beam goes hard. But fair.
It
fair
does.
Enough. Alright, well.
Inteleon sure was your second place, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's always interesting. Torn... I think you did what you were supposed to do with Torn.
Yeah. I don't know what I could have done differently with Torn to do better. It felt...
Yeah.
There were a couple of games where I needed to preserve it better, just because it was where most of my... all of my speed control really was coming from. So there were a couple of situations where I needed to preserve it, but I don't know.
I felt like after, like, S and A tier, people just forgot to draft damage.
I mean, Sableye there, I guess. Or not Sableye, fucking Inteleon.
Yeah, Inteleon does damage, but water isn't exactly the greatest attacking type.
It's true. I mean, you gave me Emboar, so...
To remedy a problem that I saw.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. An Emboar, for what it's worth, even though Emboar is in the pocket of Big Ned Gem, credit where credit is due. I did enjoy using it this season. It was fun. I would consider it again if it was not for the fact that I will simply lose anytime I bring it into Ned Gem. Because Big Pocket and Ned Gem, I fully believe it. That Pokemon is conspiring against me. Anyways, let's talk about Whiskey.
Yeah.
Whiskey, this is the team I want to talk about. Like, there was obviously Juice, but there's also this is the other team I want to talk about where I'm just like, C tiers don't really matter. Your S through B is just so fucking strong.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about not matter. Mr. Mime did a fair bit.
Sure. But I just mean, like, yeah, okay, valid. There obviously, like, there were not that many games that literally all 6 S through B came, but it was like almost always 5 of them, and then either Drapion or Mime. There was no game that 2 C tiers showed up to.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the top tiers were great. Rotom Heat is a Pokemon that honestly I thought fell off and did amazing this season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't see Rotom Heat anymore. Like, I think he's a lowish A tier now, which is so crazy. These guys broke this game.
Yeah, for real. Do you think there's anything in the draft that could have been improved here, or anything? I'm just curious because Whiskey didn't quite perform as well as usual, I think, this season. I'm just curious where that came in. Was it in the play? Was it in the building?
I remember just a lot of switching, which was weird to me, especially with like what Zamazenta does.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there should have been pivoting around Zamazenta rather than pivoting Zamazenta.
Yeah, it's funny. The last couple of matches, I think Zamazenta stayed in like basically the entire match and never switched.
Yeah, maybe because you know.
It's just funny to me.
I think it was good play.
Yeah, I think Rotom, Dragapult, Zama is a really really strong core. Empoleon put in a lot of work this season. Mamoswine, I'm surprised honestly to see Mamoswine tiered so highly, or not tiered, ranked so highly. I can't remember that many things it did, but
I don't remember a ton from Mamoswine. Yeah,
I guess it did stuff. I don't know. Any advice?
I don't know. I don't remember enough specifics about this team.
Okay. All right, moving on into you. Give me a thought process about this season. What worked, what didn't, and then also Iron Boulders here.
I mean, maybe don't draft like 8 Pokemon weak to water.
That helps.
a good idea.
That does generally help. Yeah.
It's weirdly not actually been a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, your team, I remember at the start of this season, you were very down on this team. Are you feeling better about it?
I'm kind of mixed.
Okay.
Still on it still.
How do you think this ranks in terms of your seasons, like performance wise? Just sort of in the middle, or like do you feel like this was one of your worst seasons?
I think there are 2 standout seasons that were worse than this.
Okay.
Other than that, I think it gets kind of muddy in the middle.
Okay. Fair enough. What do you think didn't work here, and what are you planning on revising in the future?
Honestly, I think Ogerpon being so hard to use took a lot out of me this season.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
'Cause
you're
it's-
of the
It's
three.
just so good at so many things that it was so hard to pick what to do with it every week.
That's very valid. Yeah, of the 3 Ogerpons, yours did the best, which is surprising because yours is like the most supportive.
Defensive.
Yeah, the most defensively oriented of the 3. I mean, obviously, there's something to be said for when you stand on the field a lot, you can get a lot done. But yeah, I mean, between Hearthflame and Wellspring and Teal, it's yeah, the Ogerpons are just kind of all over the place this season. Because yeah, I don't think anybody. I mean, I can say at least for myself didn't anticipate them being as hard to use as they were. Not that I had to, but like I was considering one at one point. Not that I chose my own team. How about like Ursaluna and stuff?
I wasn't as fast as I'm normally comfortable with this team. Was a big thing.
That's valid, yeah, because you had like Moltres for like your speed and stuff.
Moltres for speed, Blaziken for speed, which Blaziken's fine, but it does have a lot of counterplay when you specifically have to waste a turn.
Yeah. Yours is another team that kind of just, at least looking at these rankings, didn't really see too much use out of the C tiers, didn't really need them as much. Do you feel like that was true, or do you feel like they were important? Obviously, I know Fourgeist was quite important sometimes.
I mean, I think Fourgeist, like, hard carried a game, even though I lost it, it hard carried the game.
Right.
I think Escavalier hard carried a game. Cling Clang should have hard carried a game, but something interesting happened that I cannot explain.
It was the solar ray or whatever hit the Nintendo 64 at just the right time, and the pixel jumped and Mario went through the roof.
Yeah.
And Cling Clang it switched out of a flamethrower.
Low kicks I never expected to get a kill. I'm not worried about that. I just wanted to see it do 70% to a resist, and it like did that once, so I'm happy.
Awesome. Yeah, he's fun. Then obviously Iron Boulder. That's sad.
And Boulder is a bad Pokemon.
Yeah, that's sad. I do want to state for the record, the solar thing hitting the Nintendo 64, that is an urban myth. That is not true. I don't want to spread misinformation about Super Mario 64 speedrunning, because that would be simply criminal of me. Moving on into Moth.
Actually, one more thing.
Yes.
Gengar felt a little underutilized. I should have used Gengar more.
Gengar, use him more. Woohoo! Love Gengar.
See, the problem is he was in a weird spot for a lot of matches where all of my opponent's Pokemon have a 111 speed and he has 110.
Oh, that's sad. Poor guy.
Anyway, now moving on.
All right. Finally, we got Moth. It's such a long video.
Yeah, it's very long. Heracross didn't punch a washing machine this time, but it punched a lot of things.
They did punch a lot of things. I don't even remember what that means.
I don't know. Okota wrote him wash, and
Oh, that's
everyone was
awesome.
surprised because I think it was burnt.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, burnt is this time.
I know.
Ah, ah,
Um. Yeah. So, with this team, Zera Aura came to the most games out of everybody.
I expected more from Zero Aura, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I think he's like the one member of this team that didn't do what was expected. But like Blastoise did great, Heracross did great, Paparaja did great, Shaman did great.
Yeah, Shaman, despite the ranking, I think, yeah, it was nice because it kind of sat in the back as cleanup crew. Similar situation to Ogerpon Hearthflame to some degree.
Yeah.
Comfy, I feel like, was not as big of a centralizing point this season as it is usually.
Yeah, I don't really think this was a comfy team.
Yeah. What about Iron Moth? Iron Moth is another one that I kind of expected more from.
Iron Moth? I don't know. It does so much damage. It's so strong, but it's so weak to things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Burnt, obviously first in Quick Ball, definitely one of the huge threats of that division. Any advice for him?
I know Moth was kind of the mascot of the team, but like...
It wasn't. Everyone thought it was, but if we zoom in, we can see the truth. Oh, the current window is too small. Okay, one out. Look at him. He was there the whole time, controlling Iron Moth.
Okay.
Do you see him?
Yes.
Yeah. We went a whole season. I'm not sure how many people noticed. Continue.
But instead, a different bug type, and I know it's not a bug type, just roll with it. A different bug type kind of took charge. And it's Heracross.
It is Heracross, yeah. That wasn't really advice so much as a
No, it
that was
wasn't.
more of a you noticed something that is true.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of interesting that Comfy didn't fit on this team because I don't think we've ever had somebody draft a Comfy where Comfy didn't fit before.
Do you think the team just didn't need the support, or what? Because like Blastoise kind of acted as a support a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think it just didn't need that kind of support.
Mm-hmm.
It benefited greatly from the Blastoise type of support.
Yeah.
Not so much from the Comfy kind.
And like honestly, like Wordier and Morgrim both kind of also did work.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so it's weird to see. Yeah, I don't know. This team doesn't care so much about heals, I guess. And obviously Comfy also has like Tailwind and TR and stuff, so it can also do that. So when it comes to speed control, I guess Comfy was the main speed controller. Does this team just not?
Which I think is kind of a problem, because I think that should be Shaman.
Yeah, I mean, Shaman was, I guess, very much used to be just murdering things on Switch In.
Yeah, I mean, Shaman can do a lot of things, even though it has a shallow move pool. But I think running Sash Tailwind on it is pretty valid.
Alright. So I guess, let me say this. Other than Juice not getting MVP next season, me going to his house and killing him, therefore opening up a spot in Timer Ball, getting Burnt into Timer Ball. Other than that, what does Burnt need to do to enter the hallowed halls of the league that everyone hates and cries in because it's just so rough?
That's a good question.
Like, what needs to happen here? Like, I guess what still aspects of team need to be improved? Because obviously, other than the comfy, I think the team worked pretty well. Gameplay is obviously very solid.
I think Burnt's use of every Pokemon was good, except Zeraora. And it's hard to have one of your top 3 Pokemon kind of bust.
That's valid. That's fair. That's valid.
There was a pretty high reliance on like the support Zeraora set, which is fine, but I think Zeraora does actually need to make use of its speed. It does need to pick off things that are low. It does need to fake out multiple times in a match.
Cool. All right, well, that is, I think, gonna be it from us because this video is super fucking long. Do you have any final notes? Please say no.
No, I'm going to bed.
Cool. All right. Good night, everybody. I've been Technovoid. This has been Hamster Wings, and we will see you next week with Playoffs Week 1. Bye.
Bye.